Portions of Aqua Kids have been produced with the cooperation of the National Estuarine Research Reserve System.
Welcome to our Great Lakes adventure. Over the next few months, we will be exploring Lake Erie and Lake Superior, along with their tributaries and coastal areas. We'll be highlighting the many programs, dedicated researchers, organizations, and individuals working to keep those fragile ecosystems healthy and productive. So, ready to make a difference? Building a better planet starts with you.
Aqua Kids, traveling around the world, going where we've never been before, having fun and so much more, learning from our friends of the sea, saving them is up to you and me. Aqua Kids.
Our Great Lake adventure started early in the morning, climbing aboard the Miller Ferry.
Run the ferry back and forth and get people over to the island so they can enjoy the Ohio's most scenic spots.
We were headed to South Bass Island to meet with researchers from the Stone Lab.
As our Great Lakes adventure continues, we're here on Lake Erie with the folks from Stone Labs, where we're going to be trawling, tube sampling, and catching some plankton. We got our work cut out for us, so let's get started.
So we have to rinse out everything first.
What's up, Kira? What's up, Aqua Kids?
Oh, hi,
How you
Jay.
doing? What do we got going on here?
So we're gonna take a tube sample of Lake Erie today.
Cool. How do we do it?
First we have to rinse everything in the water to make sure there's nothing left over from the last time we sampled. Don't touch the inside. There you go. Nice.
What do I do next?
You gotta rinse the funnel. There you go.
Consider it rinsed.
All right, so what do I do?
Okay, so we're gonna put the tube into the water all the way down.
Okay.
And then when you get to the top, you're gonna close this mechanism.
Oh.
There you go, all the way.
All right, now
All right,
what?
now you're gonna pull it out really fast and he's gonna catch the bottom of the bucket. It's gonna resist you. There you go. Now bring the bucket in the boat.
Go on.
Good job, guys. Now we're gonna open the top here to get the rest out.
Okay.
So this is our sample. We can put it in a jar and keep it on ice until we get back to the lab, but you guys are gonna be able to filter this with Kristen and Erica.
Okay, fun.
All right.
Now it's time for Aqua Quiz with your host, Drew Cruz.
I'm your host, Drew Cruz, and it's time to test your knowledge with another Aqua Quiz. Lake Erie, the shallowest of all the Great Lakes, is also the youngest of the Great Lakes, being formed about 4,000 years ago. Due to its southernmost position, Lake Erie is the warmest and most biologically productive of all the Great Lakes. Do you know which states Lake Erie's coastline borders? We'll have today's geography lesson after the break. Aqua Kids will be right back. Welcome back. Do you know which states Lake Erie's coastline borders? The answers are Ohio, New York, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, with a total of 871 miles of coastline. We'll see you next week with another Aqua Quiz. Welcome back to Aqua Kids.
We're gonna look for plankton now. Aren't they really small? Like you.
Like you, Selena. You're really small. Sorry, Selena. All right, let's get started.
Okay, so we're gonna be collecting plankton with these plankton nets. There's both zooplankton, which are animals, and phytoplankton, which are plants. So we're gonna do a vertical tow where we take the net all the way down to the bottom of the lake, and then we're gonna pull it up. And we do this because during the daytime, the zooplankton go to the bottom of the lake to avoid fish, which eat them, because there's less sunlight there and the fish can't see that well, so they're less likely to eat them. But at nighttime, they come back up to the surface to eat the algae.
So are we targeting different types of plankton? Because I see there are different mesh sizes here.
Yeah, so this one is a very small mesh, so it'll collect everything, even the smallest animals and the eggs. And this one is quite a bit larger, so the small stuff will go through, and we use this when we're looking for bigger plankton.
Okay.
So what are you gonna do with these things?
So we're gonna put these in the water and let them go all the way to the bottom so we get the entire water column, and then we're gonna tow them back up. So you wanna go a little slow so that we can let the net sink to the bottom. There you go. You should feel a bit of tug on your rope like Andrews.
Okay.
So what's next?
So now we pull in the nets and it'll collect all the organisms in the water column.
Ooh, it's heavy.
Yeah, I usually do like this. So all the plankton will collect in these cups in the bottom of the nets, and then we can dump it into our sample jars and see what we've got.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
I don't see much, but I had the larger mesh, so that would make sense.
Well, I had the finer mesh, and it looks like there's a party going on in here.
Now we're gonna start trawling, looking for the common species of Lake Erie.
So you guys are gonna help me put the boards out. So there's a red one and a green one. Each of you will have one. I'm gonna put the green net into the water, and then I want you guys to lower the boards but hold them out. I'm gonna look for twists. If there's any, we'll correct them, and then I'm gonna have you guys let go, drop the boards, and then this will actually go out the length of a football field. So the boat will keep moving, and we'll drag the net behind it and hopefully catch some fish.
Okay,
All right. Here. Put this net out. All right, watch your feet here. You want to come behind them. Come behind this for me. All right, you guys can go ahead and drop them and then just step away. And we'll do this for about 5 minutes. So we'll let it go for a while and then we'll pull it back in. All right, so I'm gonna have you guys follow me over here. We're gonna stand this way, facing the side of the boat. I'm gonna grab this line, hand it off to you guys, and I want you to just pile it up right here, okay?
You got it, you got it.
All right. There you go. Just make a pile, and then when the divider comes in with the 2 boards, I'll hand one off to each of you, okay? Pretty good. Good job, guys. Okay, great. Now you guys can pull the boards over. Awesome. Okay, looks like we got some.
Cool.
Oh, look at that.
Hey.
All right, now we just have to check our net, make sure we don't have any that are stuck.
Did pretty well. Got a nice little catch here. Several species of common fish of Lake Erie, and yeah, pretty successful little trawl we got there.
So what species are here?
So we have a couple different things. So this one right here is a yellow perch, and they're pretty common in Lake Erie. A lot of people like to eat them. So this one is a freshwater drum, and they're pretty slippery, so they're kind of hard to hold on to.
Looks like we got a walleye here.
Yeah, actually, that is walleye. That's a little walleye. There's another one in here too somewhere.
So why do the fish swim on their sides?
So they were pulled up from the bottom of the lake pretty quickly, and all of these fish have swim bladders, which helps them regulate where they want to swim in the water. So they'll inflate it with air when they want to come to the top, and then they'll let some of that air out when they want to sink down to the bottom. So these guys were pulled up so quickly that their swim bladder is overinflated, and now they're kind of stuck like this for a while, but they'll eventually regulate and they'll be able to swim and they'll be perfectly fine. That guy you're holding is a white perch.
So these white perch, they're not native, are they?
No, they're not.
So this catch is pretty standard for what you'd find in Lake Erie, right?
Yep.
So what do you got there?
These are round gobies. These guys are actually invasive to the lake.
Do they cause any problems for the lake?
They do. So they actually eat eggs from other fish, mostly smallmouth bass, which is why the populations are decreasing in the lake.
Now it's time for us to head off to the lab, and our Great Lakes adventure will continue after the break.
Want to keep up with our adventures? Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. For more information on today's show, go to aquakidstv.org. Welcome back to Aqua Kids.
As our Great Lakes adventure continues, we're here at Stone Labs on South Bass Island, where we're going to be testing the water quality from the samples that we took on Lake Erie.
Hey Lily, so our samples are over here. Let's go see what's in them.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
How are
I'm
you?
Erica.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So yes, earlier today you collected some water samples on the boat. Here at Stone Lab, we mainly do our research in the water quality lab on harmful algal blooms. So I'm going to kind of explain how we'll process those samples when we bring them in from the field. So what we have here is the raw lake water sample that was collected in the tube sampler on the boat.
Okay.
That's in the graduated cylinder in this 2-liter jug and in the small flask there. So what I'm going to do is first process the sample by filtering it. So we're going to take the amount in the graduated cylinder here, and I'm just going to turn on the pump. So this is just a filter flask and tower. There's a filter in between the cup and...
Oh, that's really fun.
Yeah, so that's what's going to collect the algae or sediment that's in the water column. So we'll just put this through here. The filter itself is collecting any cyanobacteria, any zooplankton or phytoplankton, and what we'll use that for is we'll analyze it for how much chlorophyll A is in the water, and that'll give us an idea as a concentration how much the cyanobacteria is in the water.
So what do we not want to see in the results that show up?
Well, it's not necessarily what you don't want to see or not see. This is kind of just looking at what's available in the water for the bacteria to use and what bacteria is there. So as you can see, we've collected, you know, quite a bit of biological matter on here. So what we'll do is take this filter and do an extraction for the chlorophyll content, and then we'll use that to determine how much chlorophyll is in the water. So ideally, if there is not a bloom going on, there won't be much chlorophyll there. But if there is a large amount, then we can kind of get an estimate for how much algae is currently in the water and what could be making any toxins in that particular area that we've sampled from.
So is that chlorophyll A found in the phytoplankton?
It can be found in some phytoplankton, but it's also found mostly in the cyanobacteria or the algae that's, like the green-blue algae that's creating any type of carbon toxins. So that's particularly what we're looking for. So then the water that's also filtered, we can use for chemical analysis to see what's readily available for the phytoplankton to use. And as you can see, there's a pretty big difference in these two water samples.
Definitely.
Yeah, this one's clearer.
Yeah, so this one still has, this is the raw lake water that has any cyanobacteria or phytoplankton in it. And this one has been filtered, so now all that's in here can be used to, is any dissolved nitrogen or phosphorus that the algae might be using to create the toxins.
So what's our next step?
So now we're just going to talk a little bit about the plankton samples that you took. This was the one, the clearer water was taken with the wider mesh net, and this was taken with the smaller mesh net. And as you can see, we've collected a lot more little plankton guys in the one with the finer mesh. So we're going to go to Dr. Chaffin, who can explain a little bit more about what's inside of those samples.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Hello,
Hi.
Dr. Chaffin.
We have the samples.
Hello. So, I know it may not look like much to the naked eye, but my guess is that they're teeming with life. Can you tell us what's in them?
Right, so here is a concentrated algae sample, straight from the net. But when we look at it under a microscope, we can see thousands or hundreds of thousands of different types of algae.
Wow.
And on this computer screen here, I have some images taken from algae in Lake Erie. Now this sample right here is kind of a golden color. You see all the golden color? That is a type of algae called diatoms.
Oh.
And if you look at diatoms under a microscope, we have a Stereonella, which kind of looks like a star. We have Tabularia, which forms these zigzag chains. And we also have Alakasara, which kind of looks like a bunch of pop cans stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
Now, these are types of good algae. The zooplankton, the base of the food web, they really love diatoms.
What kind of plankton or algae show up the most?
All right, so the type of plankton we see the most varies throughout the season. In the spring, we see lots of diatoms. In the fall, we'll see some diatoms. In the winter. But in the summer, we will have the harmful cyanobacteria appear. Now, depending on how wet it is in Lake Erie, we will get more or less harmful algal blooms. The main harmful algal bloom species is called Microcystis. Okay, Microcystis looks like it's really hard to describe, but it.
It's like confetti.
It's a bunch of cells just kind of randomly linked together. They form these flaky-looking colonies. Each little black dot here is its own individual cell, and this is the type of algae that produces all the toxins that we're concerned about.
Interesting.
So these harmful algal blooms can be really bad for Lake Erie. Is there any way people at home can help stop this problem?
Right, so the main problem is too much nutrients getting in, too much phosphorus and nitrogen getting in. Now, the steps an average homeowner can do is find ways to send less nutrients to the sewers, discharges. You can use phosphorus-free fertilizers on your lawn, but it's also a water problem. Lake Erie receives most of its nutrients during heavy storm events. So when it's raining a lot, that water is going to drain across the parking lots, drain across the fields, and get into the streams. So if you have ways to hold your water back, that will help. Installing rain gardens. You know, if you catch the water off your roof, that water is going to end up in a barrel and not end up in the sewage treatment plant, or even worse, bypass the sewage treatment plant.
So too much nutrients is actually harmful.
Right. So a lake needs a little bit of nutrients so it can grow some good algae, so then, you know, eventually works its way up the food chain for fish. But too much nutrients is bad. Once you add too much nutrients, you shift the balance towards good algae to harmful cyanobacteria.
It's good to know that the people at home can do something so little as using phosphorus-free fertilizers and know that that'll do such a great thing for Lake Erie in the end.
Right.
Our numbers as surfers are now big enough that we can create real change. If you're able to mobilize a bunch of surfers, you can change the world. My name is Kyle Tierman, and I started the movie series Surfing for Change. I grew up in Santa Cruz, California. Santa Cruz is a small beach town. You know, they always say that, you know, the world votes one way and Santa Cruz always votes another way. All my friends surf and skate, and that's what I grew up doing. Surfing for Change is a free online movie series that I created where I travel to a surf spot somewhere around the world and cover a social or environmental issue happening in that town. But I recycle my plastic bag. So where does that go? And then I connect it back to my hometown of Santa Cruz to help make people aware of the simple daily things they can do in their own community to help make the world a better place. I'm gonna start bringing my own bottle to the skate park, and next time I get a burrito, I'm bringing my own bag. Our world is so interconnected that what you do at home has a big effect on the world. So let's make the right decisions that are gonna help the world. The first project I did, I found a coal plant that was being proposed down in this fishing village in Chile. All the locals were against it. And I found that Bank of America was funding this coal plant. So I made a movie encouraging surfers to take their money out of Bank of America. Right now, I'm at the site of the proposed coal power plant. If you have your money in a local bank, it's lent out within your community. And since then, I've documented over $340 million being moved out of Bank of America into local banks around the country. I got an email from Bank of America. They don't really like me very much. The goal of each of my movies is that when you stand up after watching it, you will actually change a simple thing in your life that will then have a big systemic effect on the world. It's cool, you know, I've had surfers who I would never dream of thinking were interested in the environment or in these kinds of issues, and they'll paddle up to me and like, hey, that was cool. Like, I saw your movie and, you know, I moved my money into a local bank. The truth is that surfing is a multi-billion-dollar industry right now. And if surfers change, they're enough that you can change the world. If I could say one thing to the world, it's that you have a lot more power than you think you do. And that changing the world can be as simple as shifting a daily decision.
Wasn't that great? Now it's your turn. If you or someone you know is doing something remarkable to help our planet, let us know about it. You could be our next eco-defender. See you soon. Aqua Kids will be right back.
I'm Jeremiah, and this is Earth Edition. I'd like to share with you a quote. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Now think of it this way. We know how well we're doing in school by our grades. The scale lets us know if we're maintaining a healthy weight. But the same idea also holds true for how scientists look at ways to manage conservation of many bodies of water. From streams and rivers to lakes and oceans. There are specific methods used to measure and monitor the health of the water. In addition to local programs to improve the water quality of Lake Erie, there is national support through NOAA, which stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. $475 million have been allocated for the new Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. Programs like this, together with local efforts, bring a focus to habitat areas and help direct restoration and water quality improvements. So, to better manage something, you need to measure it.
Welcome back to Aqua Kids. Well, we're back on the mainland. Had a great time with the folks from Stone Labs. We learned a lot. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I learned a lot about nutrient loading and the harmful algal blooms that it can cause.
And I learned how people at home can help prevent the algal blooms from happening.
It was really cool to see all the different species that live in the lake.
Well, that wraps up another one. Be sure to catch us next week as our Great Lakes adventure continues on Aqua Kids.